Hello, Mr. Harry, and hello, all of my friends. So, in this video, I would like to present about my research proposal in quantitative research method course. So, I have research proposal entitled "The Influence of Hybrid Offline and Online Based Learning on Student Speaking Anxiety Level." Maybe you all notice about my modification in my title. So, I add the hybrid words to make it clear the variables that I use, because in the previous title my friends told me that it seems like I use three variables. So in the new title here I will make it clear about the variables that I use this two. Okay, before I explain about my research method, allow me to introduce myself first. Hello, I'm Ratnasari with ID number 2012021009, with my supporting lecturers, Mr. Madi Hedi Santosa, PhD. Okay, without any further ado, let's start from the first explanation. It's about my introduction. In my introduction, I have some subthema, subjudul. Um, the first one is the beginning of study, problem identification, limitation of problem, formula of research problem, research objectives, and research significance. So for the first one is background of study. As you can see on the screen, so background of my study is anxiety is one of various study in performing in the process learning of foreign language or the target language. And speaking is the skill that has the most potential to be a skill that is difficult to achieve because of anxiety. So just for information, in study or learns about language, we have to master four things. The first one is uh, listening, reading, writing, and then speaking. So speaking is the important skills because speaking is the final indicator to say someone has master a language. So it will be nothing if you just can listen, you can reading, you can write, but you can just try to speak because the speak in the target language. So that's one. Speaking is the final indicator to say someone is already master in one language or in target language. Because of the anxiety, speaking it seems to difficult to achieve because one of the factors of anxiety is the existence of face-to-face interaction, which makes student anxiety more real during the learning process. Uh, Face-to-face interaction is appear when we have the learning process in the face-to-face learning process or traditional conventional learning process. So that's why sometimes anxiety is more real during the learning process in face-to-face or conventional learning. But now we have the new learning innovation called hybrid learning. Actually, hybrid learning is not a new innovation. It's already common in the abroad, like in Finland, America, and etc. But in Indonesia, is just start use from the last 2 years. When start from the pandemic appear. Okay, hybrid learning is combines two learning models. The first one is offline, conventional face-to-face learning. Yeah, we call it a traditional like face-to-face learning, conventional learning, with the online learning or electronic learning. Online learning is the learning models that use various of the online platform like Google Meet and then Zoom meeting and then LMS from the institution. So in this research or this study, we'll see whether this innovation, which is the hybrid learning, offline and online based learning, innovation will affect the level of student speaking anxiety level. So that's the background of my proposal. And then we move to the problem identification. So identification, because Many students celebrate in having conversation in the target language learn, or one of which is English. So we will focus in English. The fear is called speaking anxiety. Speaking anxiety. Student speaking anxiety is influenced by various factors that is trigger this anxiety present in the learning process. In addition to occurring when students have to perform oral performance in front of the public, this speak anxiety also often occurs in the learning process. So this is the problem identification. So I identify that students mostly feel anxious when they have to talk in the public or have to have the conversation uh, with someone else. And then we move to the explanation about my limitation, formula, and objective of this research. So limitation, this research only focus on how students speaking anxiety levels is influencing by hybrid offline and online based learning. And then I have limited it about the population or the level of this research. So this research conducted at the university level, namely at Ganesha University Education, at Ganesha University Education, majoring in foreign language for the English education study program with 2020-2021 academic year. And then for formula of the research, I formulate about this research is how an offline based learning, how an online based learning, and then do hybrid offline and online based learning influence the level of anxiety of students in the English language education study program at Ganesha Education University for the 2020 and 2021 academic year. So that is formula. And then for the objective is, of course, to determine the level of students speaking anxiety in hybrid offline and online based learning process. And next is significances of the research. So I have three significances of this research. That's for students, for teacher, for other or future researcher. So for students, it's understanding about the influence of hybrid offline and online based learning, and then should be able to detect and overcome early on. And then for teacher, is to give the outline of the issues that frequently arise during a foreign language learning process, especially in English education. And then for the researchers or other future researchers, this study may be utilized as a background information as a foundation for additional research and a point of reference for future studies on foreign language speaking anxiety and other factors. So that's all about my introduction part. Now we move to the literature review. In the literature review, I have two things about the review. The first one is theoretical and then empirical review. In theoretical, I have some points, the data of speaking anxiety, hybrid, offline, and online based learning. So speaking state by Cheney 2002, in Trivianti 2019. Speaking is defined as a process of interaction between two or more individuals in which they generate and share ideas through verbal or non-verbal signal in a variety of circumstances. So speaking is the interaction between two or more people to have shared the idea or have to talk about something. And then anxiety, according to the Carlson and Bakis in Adishpa et al. 2019, is a feeling of dread or impending doom that is accompanied by physical symptoms such as racing heart, sweaty hands, and a thickness in the chest. So anxiety is one of the emotional factors in language mastery, especially learning process of language. And then the next point is speaking anxiety. One of the difficult language skills to master is speaking. It is also be the one of research why many students feel anxious when speak in target language. Speaking anxiety is the phenomenon in which students or learners or of the target language experience worry and anxious when forced to speak or they have to speak in the target language being studied. This can be negatively impact to the students' learning outcomes or achievement. And then the last point is hybrid. According to the Lin et al. 2014, page 121, in the Fawzan and Arifin paper, explain that hybrid learning is a learning innovation that combines the two learning models, offline and online-based learning, for or conventional learning with electronic learning. So that's all about my theoretical review. So we moved to the empirical review. In empirical review, we have some title of the previous study about the speaking anxiety levels is from Ashiswa, student speaking anxiety in the classroom, and then Sari 2017 with the title Speaking Anxiety as a Factor in Studying EFL, and then Gayatri Trivianti 2019 about the correlation between speaking anxiety, self-confidence, and speaking achievement of undergraduate EFL student of private university in Palembang. So these three of paper, like from Asifa and then Sari, is try to identify what the factor that occurring the speaking anxiety in the classroom or in the EFL students. But Gayatri Dianti tried to give the clear factor about the correlation between speaking anxiety, self-confidence, and speaking achievement or ability of a student of private university in Palembang. So Gayatri Dianti, for the result, share about there is no correlation between speaking anxiety with the speaking achievement, undergraduate achievement, but there is a correlation between self-confidence and speaking achievement So that's mean that speaking anxiety not affect the speaking achievement, but students with more self-confidence will have more or highly have speaking achievement than the student who have speaking anxiety. Okay, that's all about my theoretical and empirical review. Let's move to the next explanation. Is research method. In research method, the person is design population and sample. So for the design, this research is used in the study of excess factor and quantitative research. Excess factor research focus is something that has already happened to the subject. Excess factor is used to examine the possibility of possible causal relationship between two variables and where the free or dependent variable is not treated or manipulated by researchers. And then for the population, samples and population here. For the population, all students measuring in the foreign language with English education study program at Kansas University of Education, class of 2020 and 2021, as many as 216 students with consisting 8 classes. And then for the sample here, the sampling for the study were students who had anxiety about speaking in a foreign language department with an English education study program at the Ganesha University of Education batch 2020 and 2021. So I used the technique sampling, purposive sampling because here I'm choose participation or the sampling is the certain consideration according to the necessary characteristic. So that's all about my design population sample. Let's move to the next. as variables and operational definition of the such variables. So here I have two variables, hybrid learning, offline and online based learning as the independent variable. And then the second one is student speaking anxiety level at dependent variable. And then we move to the operational definition. So hybrid learning is a combination of two learning models, namely offline or conventional, and then online learning, electronic learning. So this is the hybrid learning is a combination of the combination in the class that use offline and online learning in the same time or in the same semester. So that's called hybrid learning, face-to-face learning or virtual learning. Make it simple. And then students with anxiety level is the level of anxiety of student when they have to speak or perform oral performance using the target language, or in this case is English. That's all about presentation about this. And then we move to data collection and method. Data collection method and instruments and method. The method of the data retrieval the study is to use the questionnaire. So the instrument is use a closed-ended questionnaire with 22 questions that must be filled out by the respondents. Now, we move to the data analysis method and techniques that I use in this research. Is I use non-parametric statistic and analyze with descriptive statistic and using T-square processing data. So the data processing technique will be carried out by the T-square, and to see the relationship that occurs is carried out by regression. Is correlation task. Non-parametric statistics are used because the data result that using questionnaire with the latest scale will change original data, which means that it cannot be distributed normally. While the statement analysis will provide analysis result in the form of charts, image, and graphs needed. Then the T-square task is a difference task used to compare two variables whose data is nominal or ordinal, as the data that I have that I got from the questionnaire. And then to conduct the hypothesis analysis, that will be used a correlation analysis test. So this analysis test aims to see how the relationship between two variables or to find the close relationship between the two variables. The relation technique is used because for the same reason, the data result obtained from filling out the Likert scale questionnaires will be in the form of ordinal data, which means that is not normally distributed. And then in doing calculation, it will be assisted by IBM is SPSS statistic 26. This is for the formula of the correlation tax. And then guidelines for seeing the correlation results of the two variables are as follows, 0.90 until 1.000 is very strong, and then 0.60 until 0.799 is strong, and then etc. It seems like stated in this table. And then last is about my research schedule. So I plan to conduct my research is 6 months, start from January until June. Start the preparation January and February, and then sampling is February and March, and then questionnaire distribution is March and April, and then data collection is March, April, and then data collection March and April too, and then for the analysis is April until May, and then discussion report is May, June, and then report collection is June. So that's about my research schedule. Okay, that's all about my presentation related to my research proposal in the quantitative research method. I'm so sorry if there is a lot of mistakes in this presentation, or there is something minus in my research proposal. I'm so sorry for that. I'm still learning. And thank you for watching. Thank you for pay attention to my presentation. Have a nice day.